Back at TAS, stories of Columbus you may not have
I
heard.
don't think he found America. His people are already there.
Research has surfaced that may change your opinion of this American icon. Since our Columbus program first aired, we've realized that we did not fairly report this story. In addition to the issues featured in our original broadcast, there was information uncovered by TAS researchers that was left out. Why? There are time constraints in television broadcasting. Because of them, we had to limit our report to ideas that would build on the old Columbus story we thought our audience already knew. We left out issues that challenged the traditional story, ones that brought up new ideas that required explanation and discussion. Things that we didn't have time for in our first report.
That's not fair.
It isn't. Out of respect for TAS researchers and our audience, and because the people at A Couple of Minutes and the Atlanta School want to deal with history fairly, we will now share all the information the students found and let you think about it and what it means to you. I am Gabi Gonzalez.
I'm Ann Powers.
I am Gerald Jackson. I'm Maria Hilliard. That's the story, the only story, here on A Couple of Minutes. Woo!
Columbus was a sailor. He loved to sail the seven seas.
He was very brave. He set out to follow his dreams.
He was a great man that we all respected.
3 ships.
88 men.
Indians.
1492.
World flag.
World round.
Found America.
He was a great man.
It's just that simple. Exploring resources like the internet and more recently published texts, students found that there were some differing opinions on certain issues.
Everyone thought that the world was flat, but he thought that the world was round.
The idea that the world was round was not new.
Columbus set sail on 3 ships. 2 of them the king gave him, and the other was his. Others say that the king and queen gave him all 3 of the ships.
Who were these others?
Doug Pike.
Historian and parent Doug Pike encouraged the researchers to think about what the world was like when Columbus lived when deciding whether he was good or bad.
Very difficult to look at everything in white and black terms. Sometimes there's a lot of gray out there.
Found America.
He just come in and said, well, this is my land. I found it. And he didn't even find it. If there are people there, how can he find it?
He called the people there Indians.
Indians.
Native Americans.
How did he treat these people?
He treated them badly.
Spaniards cut off slices of Indian slaves so they could test the sharpness of their blade.
Cruelty.
Wow, that's outrageous.
He took 1,500 Indians and put them in a pen. He picked the best 500 to take back to Spain. 300 of them died on the way back home.
It's hard to imagine.
What was he going to do with them?
He was going to turn them into slaves. Slavery.
As far as the slavery issues and things like that are concerned, slavery had been around for thousands and thousands of years. And it was in this country only 150 years ago.
First of all, he cut off pieces, took them in slavery, and ruined their home. That was their home.
But it wasn't just there. We know that Native American groups were also had slaves. The Hurons up in North America enslaved, I can't remember which Indian tribe, but another Indian tribe. We know that African tribes were enslaving other African tribes. This is not to defend it. This is to say that at that time period, this was the way that the world worked.
1492.
Did y'all read through his journal at all? I see up on the board there you've got a portion of it.
They would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want.
This isn't like somebody else writing about Columbus, right? This is him writing about his own journey.
There was a situation where Columbus left some of his men behind with the Native Americans. What happened then?
On Christmas Day in 1492, the Santa Maria crashed onto a reef outside present-day Haiti. The local Indian chief was so nice that Columbus left 40 men there, who built a fort out of the debris. Columbus went back to Spain on the Nina. When he returned to the island, he found all 40 men dead, slaughtered by the Indians.
From everything that I've read, it appears that most of the great violence that came at the hands of the Spanish, including Columbus, occurred after the massacres. After the Native Americans had massacred the Spaniards that were in that fort that I was telling you all about.
They also came across information that was even less black and white.
And I think he looks like a woman.
Looked like a woman. Some people say he looked like a woman.
Look how small his head is for his body. His fingers are too big for his hands, and his shoulders are too wide for his body.
Looked like a woman.
How that might have affected psychologically, I'm not even going to get into.
Some students say that he looked like a woman. Any truth to that?
As you can see, there are a lot of different paintings of Columbus. No one's really sure what he looked like.
So how did Columbus's trip change the world? It brought people from all over the world to the Americas. Native Americans experienced hundreds of years of horrible losses. It sparked the explosion of worldwide commercial trading. It started a new need for slavery that led to millions of African peoples losing their freedom and way of life. And it allowed for the United States to develop ideas of democracy and religious toleration that spread all over the world.
Do you think Columbus was a good man?
In my opinion, Christopher Columbus was a really horrible man.
He was a great man.
I studied him as a child. He was a great man that we all respected. And now we know more about what some of the things that he did when he was over here. And some things are not defendable. Slavery is a horrible thing.
But now, say I hadn't learned all that stuff, I probably would think he was a hero too.
When I was at my old school, they just taught that he was good and there was nothing bad in him.
I think that the most important thing was the bad things, because we need to know if he's good or bad. And I think he's bad.
Important lesson, I think, is to understand why things were the way that they were and how have we changed since then.
Well, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be living here right now.
Have I been able to change at all any opinions here with regard to how to approach Columbus?
From what I've heard from you guys, I think he is a pretty bad man.
He was sort of a monster, as I think of Columbus as, but he was also sort of good.
These Atlanta School researchers have definitely brought up some things for you to think about, but you'll have to take them with you because a couple of minutes are up.